Hey guys, welcome back to One Man Op Fishing. Just started up today at our location. Yesterday it rained about 10 inches and into the night and into this morning. So you can, water is way up. You can see it's on top of the grass. It's probably up 2 or 3 feet from 2 days ago. So I'm not sure how the fishing is gonna be, but let's see what we can do. All right, let's talk about how to fish a plastic bait, specifically a plastic worm, any variation of the plastic worm, whether it's a culprit, a Charlie's, a Strike King, whether it's a Yamamoto, whether it's a Senko, a Yumdinger, any of these will work. I mean, first of all, you can use just about any reel in terms of you know, beyond a certain quality. I mean, obviously if you have a very inexpensive reel, 20 or 30 bucks, that might be a little tougher. But any of the reels, say 80 to 120, whether it's a bait caster or a spinning reel, is going to work just fine as long as it's designed for fresh water, something smaller. I like this Shimano brand. I've used them for about 30 years and I just like the way they work. So that's the one I stick with. I've got a couple other ones, but Shimano's the brand I typically go back to. You want a tall rod, okay? You need you can see this one is a 7-foot rod. We talked about that earlier, okay? You definitely want either a medium heavy or a heavy action. You can either have a medium tip or a fast tip. This one's a fast tip. It's a little more sensitive. I can feel the strikes better. But you need a tall rod, and you need either medium heavy or heavy action for the rod, all right? That's a must with worm fishing. When I first started to really fish a lot with worms, I had a rod that was shorter. It might have been 6 foot, 6'3", 6'6". I don't remember exactly. I think I might still have the rod somewhere, but it wasn't a long enough rod. And I didn't discover that until I went into a bait shop and was talking to the guy and was telling him, hey, I want to fish with the plastic worms. Long story short, he basically turned me on to a newer rod. I still have the rod that I bought there. It's a Bass Pro, even though I wasn't at Bass Pro shops. So 7-foot rod, medium heavy action. You pick what kind of tip you want, not a problem. So you're matching up either your bait caster or your spinning reel with a 7-foot rod, okay? It's got decent action. Now, in terms of what you can put on here, you can put just about anything on here you want. You can use mono, 12 pound, 15, 10, depending on the size of your reel. This is a lower profile. I like to use smaller line. You can get more on. But you can use fluorocarbon. I personally like to use braid. The water here in South Florida is, it's not clear. It's not gin clear. You probably got visual depth to about 2 or 3 feet. It's a little cloudier today because of all the rain, but usually you can see down 2 or 3 feet. So I'm using a 20-pound braid, green moss color. You can't see it very well in the water. It hides very well. I go as big as 30 on my worm fishing. I don't usually go much bigger than that. But you can go up to 50 if you have to, if you're in a really high an area with a lot of cover that you get caught in. If bass disappear into lily pads or heavy grass, you might need some heavier line, but that's typically when you're boat fishing out in the glade. So if you're shore fishing, bank fishing, these local lakes, you don't need it as much. The weight just depends on how windy it is. Typically down here it's fairly windy. You do get some really calm days, but I usually go with a 1/4 ounce bullet. I like them shiny. I prefer the shiny ones to the black ones, the tungsten, because this also helps to draw the fish. Fish are visual. So the shiny versus the black, I think, actually helps you a little bit when it comes to worm fishing. The hook is just an extra wide gap. I think this is an Eagle Claw. I'm not positive. I have a bunch of hooks, different brands, but I usually either go with a worm this size, about a 6-inch worm, 5 or 6-inch worm. I usually use a 4/0 hook. It's not the extra heavy duty, it's the thinner one. And you can go without a weight if you want. A lot of guys fish these without a weight because they'll sink this way. But again, when you're fishing from shore, you need to be able to cast further, and typically you need some kind of a weight. But weightless is fine. It'll sink just like this, straight down, which is how they're designed to sink. They all sink pretty much the same way. They got a great action on the tail, and you can catch more and bigger fish that way. But again, when it's windy out, You can go with a 16th, you can go with a 3/8. This is a 1/4 extra wide gap hook. And then just take your pick of what brands you like. If you want to use the Gary Yamamoto, the original Senkos, you can do that. They're more expensive. You can buy them in bulk. Or you can go with, this is again a Yum Dinger. It's got like a bass color on top. It's got kind of a golden color on the bottom. And the way you're going to fish it, quite simply, and you're just going to cast it out. That time I got to the other shore. You want to let it sink. Let the ripples dissipate. A lot of times it could be a bass sitting right there and it's eyeballing your bait. And if you just start reeling it immediately, you're going to miss it. A lot of times you'll get a bass on the sink. You know, as it's headed down, something will hit it. See, in this situation, I have the hook inside the bait. I've got the little notch here, put the hook right in there, it sets in. This is the way it's totally weedless, as you can see. All right. So, when you're setting the hook, you got to bring that hook all the way out and into the bass's mouth. So you want to keep your rod at least a 45-degree angle, no further down. If you bring the rod tip down and you're reeling the worm this way, that's a mistake. When you get a hit, it's gonna yank your line. It can break the line, even braid, and you're not gonna have any sensitivity. The whole purpose of a long rod is it's sensitive at the end. So you want to hold it at a 45-degree or better angle. I like to hold mine even higher, about probably 65 or 70 degrees. That way you can feel everything at the tip, and the bass can't feel anything. You know, the bass can feel you when the line is straight out. You can, you know, the reeling and all that, you want to be as stealth as possible when you're reeling this in. So rod tip high, okay, bang. When you feel a hit, don't wait very long. If you feel a hit on a plastic worm, typically he sucked it into his mouth. That's what you're feeling. And then he's turning direction. He usually turns right or left, up or down to move with the bait. If you watch any of the underwater videos, you'll see bass seldom suck something in and hold still. They'll suck it in and they'll turn one way or the other. So as soon as you feel that, you want to reel down. Just if it's at an arch, you want to reel down toward the bait. Just like that, bang. Wait till the line's tight or near tight. 1 second, maybe 2 seconds, and then straight back. Set the hook with a jerk with your arm, just straight back up to 90 degrees. You'll get a good hook set every time. You won't miss many fish. All right, guys, I found after my last cast, I was got caught in a branch, got it out, but then I noticed some of my line was frayed. So I'm just gonna take a piece of line out. You always wanna keep an eye on, say, the last foot or so of your line, because that's what's gonna get frayed from going over structure and being caught on stuff. So you wanna just cut that piece of frayed line out. What I use here is I keep one of these little tools in my pocket, and this will cut any line. Mono, fluoro, braid, works very well. It's a little scissor. All right, we've got it, and we're going to take our bullet weight. I'm using a 1/4 ounce because it's kind of windy. I've got down to a 1/16. Hardest part of doing all this is getting your line through your weight. No, I'm having such a, there we go, got it. All right, we got that. Now I'm going to show you, as I did in the last video, the modified, what I call the modified Palomar nut. Only because I don't know what else to call it. It's the Palomar knot basically, but with two turns. So you go in, you go back out. So now the hook is just sitting on your line, okay, just like it's supposed to. You make your loop. You come through not just once. Normally you'd come through once and then around the hook. I go through twice, okay. Pull it, bring it. Bring the hook through. Pull it all up nice and tight. Watch out for the barking dog. You just pull it tight. And there you go. You got it. I don't have my super glue out here. If I did, I would put a drop of super glue on it. Got it back at the car. Now that I'm just gonna cut the tag line like so, nice and low down here. There we go. Let me get it a little bit tighter right there. Perfect. And there you go, guys. Get a nice tight set. I just take my yum dinger here. We're gonna, you can see the slit there. You can see that's a yum dinger, the Yum brand. We're just gonna come right down through there. Boom. Right out. Around. And then right in. We're just gonna measure it, see where it goes through, right about there. I like to go a little higher. Make sure she's straight. Make sure my hook is right there. It is. And there you go. You're ready for action. Got that piece of braid cleaned up. Something's tapping it, I think. Yep. Gotcha. There we go. That's a little guy, but better than nothing. That's weird. I got him like surfing. Actually, he's not that little. It's just the way I got him out of the water. Nice. Okay. Hey. There we go. He's maybe a pound. You can see the mouth's about 3.5, almost 4 fingers. Good healthy fish. Caught him on the worm right in the side of the hook, you know, felt him tapping it. That's exactly how you have to do it. You just reel down and do your job. Okay, here we go. Right back home. All right, we're gonna have to make haste. Okay, guys, we are headed back. It's about 6:50. Gonna be dark in just a few minutes. I hope you enjoyed today's video. We covered knot tying a little bit, the Palomar knot, the modified Palomar knot, what I use for gear for worm fishing, which is what I mostly do down here. I love to throw other bait, but only if I'm not catching dragonfly, if I'm not catching things on the stick bait. I mean, a stick bait works down here year round, so that's what I mainly fish with. You know, I'm not out to fish with every lure under the sun. You don't need to buy every lure under the sun. I know lure manufacturers want you to think that you need the $15 lure to catch bass. Utter nonsense. I've caught the vast majority of my bass on plastic worms, Charlie's, Culprit, a bunch of other brands that I've bought over the years, and they're the cheapest things out there. Okay, guys, I'll see you next time. This is Mike with One Man Out Fishing. Have a good one.